Pat Middleton. Join me on the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th Saturday at 1:30 p.m. in the month of March as I go behind the rhyme with 4 dynamic women poets in celebration of National Women's History Month. Once again, that's the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th Saturday in March at 1:30 p.m. for Behind the Rhyme with Pat Middleton, right here at WTMR 800 AM, live streaming at WTMRradio.com. Well, good afternoon and welcome to Behind the Rhyme. I am Pat Middleton, and I am excited to be here on today. It is International Women's Day, first of all, and it is March 8th, International or World Women's Day. And we have with us a woman, a Black woman, a prolific poet and soloist, and her name is Lloyd, and we're going behind the rhyme with her on this afternoon. We're going to find out her poetry, and her life behind the rhyme. Good afternoon, Jewel. How are you?
Oh, good afternoon, Pat. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and I'm glad to be here, and I can't wait to hear from you on this afternoon. Take just a moment and maybe 30 seconds or so and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm a Philly poet, born and raised, although I did live in Delaware for a big chunk of my life. I've been writing since I was 12. I performed at a variety of places in Philly, New York, New Jersey, and Delaware since the 1980s.
All right. And we're going to dig deeper as the conversation goes along. This is Behind the Rhyme, where you will hear not only the poetry, but you'll hear about the life behind the rhyme, the testimonies, the struggles, and the inspiration of the poet behind the rhyme. So, Jewel, let's start off with, you did share just now that you've been writing since you were 12 years old. Do you remember your first poem?
Oh, my goodness. No. I used to keep, I've always kept my poetry in hardback notebooks.
Mm-hmm.
And all the poetry I wrote from the time I started till I was in my teens, unfortunately, I lost at the age of around 15. So I can remember, but I don't remember all the lyrics when I wrote about growing up too fast.
Oh, okay. What inspired you in your young age to start writing?
Well, life. Life. I did read a lot. I was an introvert, still am. My poetry is the extroverted side of me. And in order to understand a lot of what I was going through, or just to have a non-judgmental ear to talk to, I wrote poets with ear to talk to. I wrote poetry.
Okay. I love how you just said poetry is did you say the external part of you? The extroverted part of you.
Yeah.
Okay. I can relate to that. Do you write anything besides poetry?
I write short stories on occasion. It comes in waves. There's times when I've written a lot more short stories than poems, and then times where I've written mostly poetry. I'm experimenting now with prose poetry with Ended Through It.
Oh, wow. I love that. Now, how do you balance your passion for writing with your career?
Well, when I was working, because now I'm retired, I've been retired now for about 15 years.
Oh, that's nice. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a blessing.
Amen.
It's a blessing.
Amen.
Before I did retire, it was after work hours on the weekends, and then poetry never comes when you're like sitting in the chair with a pen and paper. So I've always carried a little notebook. I had scraps of paper I write poems on while waiting for the bus, or in between breaks at the job, or when I was working at fast food, even behind the counter when there was no customers. So
Oh, wow.
it kind of like it's woven through my life.
Yes, it sounds like it. Okay, sounds like it. Okay. I want to dive a little bit into your producing of a poetry CD. I think there were some songs on there as well. How did that come about?
Well, being at a lot of open mics, I've always seen poets that while CDs was popular, they would have their CDs out, and I've always wanted to do one. So I met this brother who creates his own music, and asked him if he would work on a CD with me. And we practiced a lot, and what he did was get me to slow down the tempo of my poetry to fit his music. And that's how the CD, I was really surprised at how the CD came out. We actually recorded it in a professional studio, but it was like 4 months studio, but it was like 4 months, 5 months of practice before we was ready to actually put the CD out. But all the music on there is his.
Wow, that's awesome. I
It's
remember.
all original music.
It was so good when I first got your CD. I remember Sandy Cove. Yeah, I was on my way to Maryland, just part of Maryland, not too far away, and I listened to that CD the whole way there and the whole way back, and it was just a joy. It was just driving down the highway, listening to Jewel Lloyd, driving down the highway, listening to Jewel Lloyd, and it was soul songs, was it? The title of the CD, I'm trying to remember it because I meant to bring it with me. I didn't put my hands on it today to bring it with me, but it was a joy listening to soul songs.
And it's called Shades of Love.
So, Songs of Love?
Shades of Love.
Yeah.
Like different shades of love. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was good. It was good. And that was a joy to me. Now, I want to pause here. I've got a lot more questions, but I want to pause here and have you, and then after the question, I'm going to ask you to read a poem or two.
Okay, before we do, I would like to mention that the musician and the brother who worked with me on this, his name is Osiris Wildfire. I definitely want to give him credit.
Oh, I understand that. Say his name again. All right. Thank you for that. Now, the question is, because it's Women's History Month, we want to just make sure that we give space for this question before I go back to poetry questions. What woman or women have had the most impact on your life in general and on your life as a writer?
On my life as a writer, gosh, that begins with Mrs. Campbell, which was my English teacher when I was going to Delaware Technical and Community College. And then, most recently, we met Mia Ebo Gray and Victoria Huggins Purifoy have really been major influences. They've been encouraging, they've been mentors, and they've given me the courage to really stretch and express through my poetry.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. I know Victoria, and I can attest the same. She is certainly an inspiration. And what about on your life in general? Have there been, is there one woman or women who have impacted your life in general outside of being a writer?
That's hard to say.
Okay, no problem. Some people say, so
it's been my faith more than myself. 'Cause
your faith.
just by myself, I wouldn't have survived this long.
Amen. Amen. I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Okay, I'm going to ask you if you'll share two poems, and if you will, in honor of the title of our show and our format, share a little bit of the story behind the rhyme. Now, you can do that before you share the poem or after you share the poem, but we're going to ask for two poems, and we also want the story behind the rhyme.
Oh, okay. This first one was inspired by just the women are strong a lot of times because we've had to be, but because we are also nurturing sometimes because we've had to be, but because we are also nurturing sometimes we underestimate ourselves as we encourage and uplift and inspire and motivate others. So that was the inspiration for this first poem, which I wrote, I believe, during one of the can wear down Mount Everest. Her face can feel the Grand Canyon. Her love is deeper than the Atlantic Ocean. Her passion is hotter than the sun. Her loyalty is stronger than steel. She is epic, but still human. My second one, Black History Month poems. A lot of times, I think women's role in our history period, be they black, any woman of color, and white women, all women. A lot of times our role in history has been downplayed or even unrecorded. So that was the reason behind this. And it's entitled Her Story. And it's for all the warrior sisters. We fight alongside you. We die for our cause. The fact we are women gives racism no pause. We fight to protect family and home, standing beside you and when alone. We bring others to freedom during times filled with fear. Demand equal rights till America. A rope, lynched by the Klan, murdered in church or in jail by the man. We record the outrages in verses and songs, become politically active to make right all the wrongs. We are warrior. We are warrior women. Justice our battle cry. We'll never stop fighting till inequality dies.
Wow.
Those are my two poems.
Those were powerful, powerful poems. We're going to ask you in just a moment to hold on. We're going to have a little commercial break, and we're going to definitely ask you for one or two more poems a little bit later in this interview after some more questions.
Great.
Yeah, so stand by. I've got to make an announcement here, and then we'll be right back. And we are back with Behind the Rhyme and Jewel Lloyd. I'm Pat Middleton. Thank you for tuning in. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Behind the Rhyme here at WTMR, where the master reigns, 800 AM in Camden, Philadelphia, live streaming at WTMRradio.com. We are also available on the iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Odyssey mobile apps. In addition to our very own mobile app, just go to the Google Media Group, WTMR, in the search bar, and our app will come up. And now, for more poetry and stories behind the rhyme with Jewel Lloyd. Jewel, you still there?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, of course. Well, I want to jump back in with talk about writer's block. It comes up a lot when talking to poets. Do you ever suffer from writer's block? And if so, how do you handle it? How do you tackle it?
Oh my goodness, I do suffer from writer's block. Um, One of my mentors that I've been blessed to have, Elijah Pringle, he told me, which now I've adopted, that writer's block is really just the time of gathering, where it's time for you to just gather information, analyze what's going on, marinate with things a bit, and then when it's time to write, it'll come.
I like
A
that.
lot
A
of
time
times
of
when I do
gathering.
have writer's, yes, a time of gathering. A lot of times when I have writer's block, I start crocheting. And so a lot of my crochet projects are called poetry and yarn. Help with yarn, the words that haven't come yet.
Oh, wow. That is so beautiful. I love poets and how we just articulate and we can move in between different creative outlets. I love that. Uh, now, uh, what tools do you, according to you, because we all have our own, tools that we use. What are your must-haves when you're writing?
Well, before Google, it was
Yeah.
and a thesaurus and a rhyming dictionary. Now, all that's on Google. But my must-haves is I always try to keep a little notebook and a good ink pen in my pocketbook. Is with me everywhere I go. A good writing pen is a must, and it doesn't have to be fancy. Just one that writes with bold ink and doesn't skip. So now I've taken to using gel pens because they write smoother to me, I think. Um, Notebooks to store your poetry, and although a lot of people do store their poetry online, but I also have paper as a backup because if you can't get in the system or something happens and it crashes and you lose it, you still have your paper version.
That's true. I was going to ask you, do you,
Version.
that's true. I was going to ask you, do you ever write original poetry starting with the computer, or do you always start hard copy with pen and paper?
And a lot of times, well, I think 90% of the time it's pen and paper. And although it is advantages to doing it online because then all you have to do is hit a button and you can delete and rewrite it. But I guess pen and paper gives me time to look at it and out and then rewrite it. So I'm more comfortable with pen and paper.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes writing online, for me, if I'm writing, in Word on a computer, I start editing and fixing instead of just letting the poem come out. If you're writing longhand, and you could just write the whole thing out and worry about editing
Yeah,
later. Yeah,
yeah.
I agree with you about that. Now, what advice would you give other poets who want to follow in your footsteps?
Um, Write what you feel deeply about. Write about things you know. Um, People watch. So sometimes you can get an inspiration just from the people around you because even though you may see just somebody walking down the street, you have in your mind that they all have a story. Like for example, once I was in the subway and I saw this guy sitting waiting for the subway train, and he was reading a cookbook with a McDonald's bag next to him. And I looked at that and thought, And next thing I know, I wrote a whole poem about that.
Wow. Wow. People watch. Let me ask you, you have two published poetry collections, two chapbooks, as you say. I always say a chapbook is a book, but in our poetry world, chapbooks are special to us because that is, for me, it's just the most original type of a poetry collection, a chapbook. So tell us about your two chapbooks, the titles, how they came to be, etc.?
Well, my first book was entitled of Butterflies and Tears. My daughter gave me that title when I was telling her I was thinking about writing a book of poetry. Well, that's because I already had the poems written, but I was thinking about gathering together a group of poems to put into a book. And she said, well, Mom, how about a butterfly? So my brother designed the cover for the book. And I met this brother through the open mics that's here in Philadelphia. His name is Christopher K.P. Brown. And he had a company called Two Pens and Lint, where he was helping poets put together chapbooks. And that's how it got started when he's the one that made me see that it was actually affordable for me to do. And I have to begin by saying I didn't start doing this first book of my collected poetry until I was in my 60s, which means it's never too late to get started on your dream as long as you hold on to what that dream is. My second book, Faith, Hope, and Inspiration, is all of my faith-based and inspirational poetry. And my brother, he took pictures that I had done and put them together in a collage, and that's the cover of that second book.
I am looking at your book cover of Butterflies and Tears, and it is beautiful. And you said your brother designed this cover?
Yes, that's his artwork.
And he has the words all interwoven in the butterfly wings. Perseverance,
cool?
laughter, strength, peace, joy, love, all with intertwined in the wings of the butterfly in different colors.
Yeah.
This butterfly in different colors.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. And then bordered in the tears. I love that. And then you said your brother for the second book, these are his photographs?
Well, those are my photographs.
Oh, your photographs.
He put them in a collage.
He did the collage. Yeah. Okay.
My brother.
Oh, get out of here. That's so cute. He said, I'm going to put my hand in the middle. So I love that. I really like the originality of these two book covers.
He's my tech Obi-Wan.
Nice, very nice. Okay, Jewel, nice. Okay, Jewel, I would like to ask you if you will share two more poems and the stories behind the rhyme, and then our interview for now will be over. Oh, man. But it's been a pleasure.
Time went by fast.
It did go by fast. Okay, go ahead. The mic is yours again.
Well, I'd like to share some history. This poem was written to commemorate the Million Woman March that happened here in Philadelphia on October 25th, 1997. Mm-hmm. I'm the oldest of one boy, and me and all my sisters came to that march. In fact, when Ebony did a feature on it, me and two of my sisters, my next to the oldest, and my youngest sister, we were all right up at the fence where they blocked the crowd from coming up to where the stage was. And Ebony took the photographer took a picture of us with the crowd in front of right in front of the fence. And my sister Nessie, she has that picture at her house because she went to Ebony and got that picture. So I thought that was really cool. It's called Nisa Umoja, Million Woman March, October 25th, 1997. We are hungry for unity. It's where we all belong. It heals and makes us strong. We've done a part too long. United, we can right the wrong. 2 million sisters came, gathered in the cold and rain. 2 Philly sisters now became focal points for worldwide fame. We are hungry for unity. We sang, we are family. I've got all my sisters with me. An awesome sight to see. 2 million joined in unity. Though the weather wasn't fair, we really didn't care. Sisterhood was in the air. We could feel it everywhere. We are hungry for unity. We are hungry for unity. Sister, daughter, mother, wife, we've come through toil and strife with the power to teach. We came from everywhere to show the world we care, because we want to share the power we each bear, because we are hungry for unity. And when I read this poem, I can see that day again in my mind. It was quite time. It was quite. Jada Pinkett Smith was there, pregnant with Jaden. It was quite a few famous people there. It was an awesome event. It was like over 2 million. We just filled up the whole parkway because it was held by the front of the art museum.
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember.
that brings back some good memories.
Yeah, that poem is beautiful, beautiful. Well, Jewel, we want to thank you for being with us on today. We're approaching the 2 p.m. hour, so we're going to have to wrap up right now, but you will be back. I will be asking you to come back. I've got something special I'm working on for later on this year with poets.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so thank you once again for being with us on today. We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to share your poetry with us and your stories behind the rhyme.
Thank you for the invitation. It was an honor and a pleasure.
You're very, very welcome. Stand by, Jewel. I'll be right with you. I just need to wrap up here. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Behind the Rhyme with Pat Middleton. Thank you so much for listening. As always, you never know who. I'm not going to announce our guest. It's going to be another fantastic woman with fantastic poetry here next Saturday. And you'll just have to tune in to find out who. Until next week, as always, be blessed, be encouraged, and believe.